It is Friday. It is the 30th of May. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is CNN News Center, live from Hong Kong. Our top stories today. A gang rape in northern India, already horrifying, ends with a hanging. Authorities scramble to arrest those responsible. The husband of a Sudanese woman who's on death row for refusing to renounce Christianity says he's hopeful her sentence will be overturned. In an exclusive interview with CNN, Daniel Wani says the international attention on the case is helping their appeal. On Tuesday, his wife, Miriam Yahya Ibrahim, gave birth to a baby girl in prison. However, Sudan receives humanitarian aid from about 20 countries, the majority of which comes from the United States, the UK, the EU and Japan. There are now growing calls for those governments to threaten sanctions on Sudan to pressure the court to lift the ruling. Atika Schubert reports.
Well, as you can imagine, there's been a lot of anger about this case online. In fact, there have been multiple calls to halt Sudan's aid completely. So let's take a look at just how dependent the country is on aid and exactly where it comes from. In fact, more than a quarter of Sudan's budget is from...
Well, CNN's Elise Labott pressed that issue at a briefing with the U.S. State Department. Here's her exchange with spokeswoman Jen Psaki.
Well, what are the levers of pressure that the U.S. has here? I mean,
Some of the other stories that we're following here at CNN News Center, a U.S. official says Russian forces appear to be pulling back from the Ukrainian border. U.S. intelligence suggests about 30,000 troops are moving back to their home bases. NATO and the U.S. have been tracking Russian troop movements as the Ukrainian crisis intensifies. U.S. government officials say a radical Islamist fighter who recently staged a suicide attack in Syria was, in fact, an American. He was known as Abu Huraira al-Amriki and was part of the al-Nusra Front, a terrorist group formed during Syria's civil war. U.S. officials are not releasing his real name, but say he grew up in the state of Florida. Protests are planned in Libya today against the violence that has racked the country in recent weeks. Save Libya Friday protests are expected in Tripoli and Benghazi. A rogue general has led attacks against extremist Islamist groups in Libya. Americans have been advised to leave the country immediately. You are watching CNN News Center. Coming up, more on a horrifying live from Hong Kong. I'm Monita Rajpal. In India, two brothers are in police custody for allegedly gang raping and hanging two teenage girls in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh. A third brother is still wanted by police. We do warn you, the picture we are about to show you is graphic, but CNN has decided it is important to make clear the horror of what happened to these young girls. The girls were cousins. They were just 14 and 16 years old. 3 policemen have also been removed from duty for not registering the cases when the girls were reported missing. Another officer has been arrested. Well, let's get more on this now from CNN Sumnima Udas. She joins us now live from CNN New Delhi. Sumnima.
Monita, this is a real shocker here, even by Indian standards. And I say that because Indians have long...
It's heartbreaking indeed. Sumnima, thank you so much for that. Sumnima Udas, they're live for us from CNN New Delhi. In Pakistan, a distressing story emerged this week about the death of a young woman beaten to death by her family. They were angry she'd eloped and refused to marry her cousin. The government has ordered an investigation on Thursday. CNN News Center, live from Hong Kong. Record heat continues in parts of China and South Asia. Meteorologist Ivan Cabrera joins us now from the World Weather Center with those details. Ivan?
Yeah, good to see you, Monita. In fact, we're talking about, my gosh, temperatures here that have not...
Ivan, thank you very much. A record basketball sale in the U.S. The Los Angeles Clippers have been sold for a whopping $2 billion. The buyer is former Microsoft CEO Steve Ballmer. The deal still needs approval from the NBA Board of Governors, but it's likely to be the most names compete in the third round of the French Open this Friday. Roger Federer faces Russia's Dmitry Tursunov, while in the women's matches, third seed Agnieszka Radwanska from Poland meets as yet unseeded Ayla Tomljanovic of Croatia. Meanwhile, after after 2 days of big seeds being ousted, it was full steam ahead at Roland Garros on Thursday. Rafael Nadal put rising star Dominic Thiem in his place with a masterly display to reach the third round. The French Open is tennis's second Grand Slam tournament of the year, but interestingly enough, the Roland Garros Stadium isn't named after a man known for his tennis, but rather for being a World War I hero. Christina McFarland reports.
CNN Paris.
And I'm Monita Rajpal at CNN Hong Kong. You've been watching CNN News Center. Thank you for joining us. Stay with us, though. I'll update you the news headlines in just a few minutes.